Hello everyone, welcome to this final Ask Andy live Q&A of the year of 2023. I know we only had one last week, but I realised I wouldn't get another one in before Christmas and New Year, so lucky you guys, eh? Here we go, we've got 30 minutes and I'll be answering as many of your questions as I can. As ever, a quick request, please do just read over your question before you press enter, or if you realise you've made a typo after you press enter, edit it, go back and make sure it all makes sense in a single message. It makes everything so much smoother, so much easier, so I know exactly what you're asking. And also just another reminder as well that if I don't get around to your question, then you can go to our Facebook group, becleverwithyourcash.com/community is the place to go. Ask to apply to join it, where it accepts you as long as you're not a scammer. And then you can ask in there. And if myself or the team can't get around to answering your questions, because we literally can't answer all the questions that come through from you all the time, then there are, I think, 7,800 members in the community now. So loads of them are really active and have a great knowledge, or they can point you in the right direction, possibly over on becleverwithyourcash.com or other videos that I've done or podcasts with more information. But I will do my best. As it is the last one of the year, this is effectively a Ask Andy Christmas special. So I've got a little Christmas jumper on. I've got the Christmas tree behind me with the lights and stuff. So hopefully you're all feeling suitably festive as well. 2 weeks to go until Christmas. Less than that, less than 2 weeks. Anyway, sorry, hello Instagram people. I know I focus more on YouTube because there's more people watching on YouTube, but I don't forget about you, and I will be checking the comments on here as well. I see the volume is low on YouTube. Okay, that's interesting. It should, maybe you're. I'm getting really good things on there, so maybe that's the volume on your computer. I know it sounds a bit weird, but just double check that. Right. Pop Squeeze says, if state pensions are going to be means tested, is there a better place to put your savings in a bank? So, I mean, with the state pension, it's all speculation about what might happen in the future. Yes, it could well be means tested. How much you get could well be dependent on your earnings. It could disappear completely. It could stay as it is. At the moment, you just don't know. Obviously, the ideal thing is if you can have a variety of different options for when you retire, that's the best thing. So to relying just on the state pension is, one, not going to give you enough money for a lifestyle that you probably want, but also probably not necessarily a good idea. So your idea, you want to have some private pensions as well, maybe use up your ISA allowances, a big sort of mix of things that when you do get to retirement age, you're not relying on one thing or the other. But so at the moment, there's nothing to say exactly what will happen later on. So you can't kind of take any mitigating actions for that. Matt says, hi Andy, I have £7,000 in a help to buy ISA and recently opened a lifetime ISA. Should I keep them separate, or should I progressively roll the help to buy ISA into the lifetime ISA so I can maximize the 25% bonus, keep into the 4K limit? So there are pros and cons of both of these. The massive con of the help to buy ISA is the cap on the property, which I believe is 250,000 outside London, and I believe it's 450 in London. Not 100% sure on that one, but I think that is the case. Double check those figures, obviously. It's been a while since I've spoken about help to buy ISAs. So that 250 outside London is obviously quite small. Whereas the lifetime ISA, it's at 450k wherever you are. So it's not very good for London, but it's decent for outside of London. However, a pro of the help to buy ISA is if you don't use it for buying your first home, you can just take that money out. Yes, you'll lose that 25% bonus, but that money is yours to do with as you wish. Whereas a lifetime ISA, if you don't use it towards your first home for whatever reason, maybe because the property is more expensive than that limit, then you have to either keep it until you are 60 before you can access the cash, or you have to pay a penalty, which knocks out not just that 25% bonus, but also about 6-7% of your savings as well. So it really is sort of up and down. Plus also there is that £4,000 cap, annual cap into the lifetime ISA. So if you've got 7k in there right now, well, you could put in 4k. If you haven't got any money in a lifetime ISA, you could put in £4,000 now. You could put in the other £3,000 on April the 6th. But you do have to wait for a year before you can use it to buy a property. So again, depends when you want to buy. So there's no clear answer. I have got a whole article and a whole video actually as well looking at lifetime ISA. So maybe check them out for a bit more information about how they work, and then you can make that call. Let's just double check here on Insta. So Dylan says, is it worth keeping the Nectar Amex after a year? So the Nectar Amex is free in the first year, and then the new price hikes that came in, what was it, last month? It's going to be £30 a year after that first year is up. However, if you do apply via someone like Quidco or Top Cashback, then you can often get, it's lower than it used to be. I think it's maybe only 10 or 15 quid now, but you can get a little bit extra as well. Maybe that's a bit higher time to time. Look at refer to friend deals. If people have got them, that might also boost. That's assuming if you're new to it. So then you're effectively, that extra cashback is also paying off the second year. But then after that, on year 2, obviously you're paying that £30 and that will eat into your cashback. So what you really want to weigh up then is what are the alternatives available elsewhere? How much do they pay in cashback and how much of the total that lower? Because the Nectar one pays 2 Nectar points for every £1 you spend, which works out the equivalent of 1%, which is at the higher end for the Amex cards. So you need to work out what your total spend would be on the Nectar card minus 30 quid and compare it to that total spend on a different one and see which one comes out trumps. Of course, if you have had the Nectar card, it's the only Amex you've had in the last 2 years, you will be eligible to get a welcome bonus on one of 2 cards on the Amex Platinum card, which is very, very, very expensive, and also the British Airways Amex card. Both of those cards, they have high fees. The Premium Plus British Airways, I should say, Amex. Those ones you might be tempted to go, do you know what? I'll get a welcome bonus on those as long as you can meet the criteria, and ideally do it when they're boosted. So the Amex Platinum one ends on the 7th of January next year, I want to say. I would imagine, can't promise this, but for the last couple of years, in January, when that one finishes, there may well be a British Airways Premium Plus boosted offer, which might be worth thinking about as your second card. Or you can just stick with it, see what different options are. Robert says, I put 10k in the bank goes bust. Do I get 10k or 10k plus interest? Oh, that's a really, really good question. So, that's a really good question. I suppose when is the interest paid? I don't know the answer to that. Is a really, really good question. I'm probably going to forget that one. So if you could maybe, if you're already in the Facebook group, Robert, it'd be amazing if you can post that as a question. That's more likely that myself or the team will pick that up again there and we can look into that one because I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I guess if the interest has been paid already, obviously you would get it. It's more about if the interest hasn't yet been paid. So maybe you had a 1-year fix where the interest is paid all at maturity. Well, the interest hasn't come in through yet, but you have been earning it. Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I will find out. I'll try to find out. Michael says, Andy, I earn over £12,570 a year. I'm wondering, does that mean I do not get the starter savings rate as well as the personal savings allowance? I've already watched your video on what you should do if you exceed your personal savings allowance. So the starting rate for savings is really, really good. And I have spoken about it in previous videos, but I will do a separate video at some point next year about it to explain it in more detail. But effectively, this is where the more you earn over £12,570, if you earn under that, you get a £5,000 extra. But the more you earn over that 12,570, that starts to come down. So yes, you can earn over £12,570 and get access to the starting rate for savings. There's extra £5,000 of interest you can earn, but it won't be £5,000. It will start reducing down. You will find all that information on the .gov website. They will explain it all there as well. If you don't want to wait for me to do the video at some point in 2024. Exam Tricks and Tips says, I got the nationwide bonus 4 days after the switch. Thank you, Andy. That's brilliant. Great to hear. I used payday boost feature on Moneybox and Plum to create a recurring direct debit. Let your viewers know about this special feature. I was saying when I do my switches, I generally go Moneybox and Plum as well to get that kind of fast direct debit. I'm not sure what the payday boost feature is that makes it any different, but they're kind of some of the ones that I generally would encourage you to look at. I did a video on the best direct debits for helping you do switching accounts probably about a year and a half ago, but it's still pretty much all up to date. And a more recent update in one of my podcast episodes, you can actually now watch podcasts, Cash Chats podcasts on YouTube as well. So I think this is episode, about 3 weeks ago. Or there's an article on the website which is up to date as well with some of those direct debits you can set up if you're running out of them for switching deals. Just excuse me one moment. Okay, any more on you on Insta? No, all up to date there. Great, go back to YouTube. Exam tips, tricks and tips is Barclays update. You don't need to have the blue rewards to have the rainy day saver now. Interesting one. Thanks for that. I would check that one out. That's really good to hear. Radislav says, hi Andy, I had a Barclays bank account and closed it mid-October. Am I still eligible for the switch offer as their customer service says I'm not? But after reading the term conditions, I think I am. So this was such a confusing switching deal. Their wording was so bizarre how they did it. that when I first read it, I thought one thing. So I got in touch with their press office and asked them, and they came back with an answer, which again didn't really answer it. So I went back again and said, is it this? And they came back with an answer again, which didn't really say yes or no. So I took it, their answer, I took as, okay, so I've explicitly asked this question, are you eligible? And they've given me this, that means it's not. But then I went back to them about something else. And I think one of you guys got in touch on the Facebook group and said, this is what customer service is saying. And they said, the press office guy said, well, that's exactly what I said before. And it wasn't exactly what they said. So real massive failure of communication at all ends on this offer, on the Barclays website, in their press office, and in their customer services. I was 100% told by the press office that if you have, as long as you haven't had a Barclays account from the 31st of October onwards, so I've opened it since then or had it since then, you are eligible for that switching deal. Obviously, it is now finished. So you need to, if you haven't already, I assume you already have started switching, they're telling you won't get it. But they told me that explicitly. If a number of you are getting this coming back to you from customer service and you're putting a complaint into Barclays and you are not getting any resolution from that, then come back to me, contact me via the Facebook group. It's probably the best way of doing this. And if I get a number of you together, I can get you, give me permission, I can contact the press office. And I've done this with other things before and ask them to investigate this. And maybe we can kind of use our kind of collectively, we get this sort of sorted if there's a number of you doing it. So do keep me updated there. Leo Clark has asked about investing. Sorry, Leo, I don't cover investing here on the channel. It's not one of my, I know how it all works and I do it myself, but it's not something I'm an expert in. So therefore I don't comment on it. I would always urge you to be very careful of people who just flippantly talk about this stuff. Always check someone's credentials. Always check that someone knows what they're talking about, particularly on social media, because there are a number of people who do this because they can. It's a great democratizing format for us and platform for everyone, but you still got to be careful and you still got to do your own research as well. Yeah, when I tell you stuff, still make sure you read those term conditions on those offers, particularly things like bank and switch offers and credit cards and stuff. Still make sure you read it because you can't cover everything in the time in these formats. So you still need to do that. So yeah, sorry, Leo, I'm not able to answer that one for you. But just make sure the people you do find for more information about that they have some sort of credentials behind them, that they actually do know what they're talking about. Tracy says, what are you going to do with the extra few pounds we will get each week next year? So this is the changes to national insurance that will come into play from early January. Now, I've covered these in detail both on the YouTube channel and the website and on the Cash Chats podcast, so you can catch up with all that content from just a few weeks ago around the autumn statement when they announced this tax cut. It is a tax cut on one hand, but on the other hand, they are taking more from us. So yes, we'd be a little bit better off than we would be without it. But if they hadn't done the other tax freezes on the personal allowance, we'd be even better off. Of course, though, there is an argument as well that we do obviously have to pay taxes, some ways to pay for things. So where's money going to come from? But that's for another time. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a huge amount of extra money, is it, Tracy? But, it's going to be welcome, I guess, early in the year. At least it's something. But just don't be fooled into thinking that it's something amazing. It's still not a great thing overall in terms of our finances. Leonette says, hello, Andy. Please can you advise on the best joint easy access account? Really enjoy your content and advice. Many thanks. So when I do, myself and the team, we do update the best buy tables for savings accounts at becleverwithyourcash.com/savings. I'm sure most of you know this. If you watch me regularly, I'm always giving you that URL. What we don't do when we do those tables, though, because there's so many things we had the time to do it, we don't look at which ones do allow joint savings accounts. So I'm not going to be able to give you a firm answer on that one. But I would say look at some of those top paying ones that are listed there, see if they do allow joint accounts. Also, just depend on how much money you have, Leonette, because you could consider getting, if you haven't already got one, a Santander Edge current account. And this one does have a £4 fee every single month. Is it £4? Is it £4, isn't it? Again, I've not spoken about this one for a while. This one will give you cash back on your bills. As long as you don't already have a Santander 123 or 123 Lite account, which are closed to new customers but had paid better rates of cash back on your bills, so your council tax, your energy, your broadband, all those things, that's worth getting it. And then you also get access to the Edge Saver account, which pays, what does it pay? What does it pay? I can't remember what it pays now. Is it 7%? I think it pays 7% on up to £4,000. So that, and you can have not only one for yourself, but you can also open up one each, and you can also open a joint account, and the joint account, you can have two of those Edge Savers. So in fact, you don't really want to have you could have all four of them, but if you're just thinking about joint thing, I would open up just a joint account, have your bills coming out there, which is a good thing for budgeting anyway, if the shared expenses, and then open up two of these edge savers, which diminishes the how much the fee reduces, the overall interest you get, and then you can have up to $8,000 in these accounts earning 7%. So that's probably a decent approach to go for. Also, if you go via Quidco or Top Cashback, I'm not sure if it's both of them or one of them, then there's often around 20 or 30 quid available as cashback on top of that. You might want to wait and see if a switching deal comes along in the new year. Previously, Santander, when they've had switching deals, they've let you switch in as an existing customer. But of course, there's no guarantee they're always going to continue that. So you could maybe give it a month, see what happens. And if it doesn't come by the end of January, go for it. Because if you keep waiting, you're missing out on that interest and you're missing out on that cashback. JXPT says, as a student, what is the best way to invest and secure a strong future? Well, first of all, as a student, you have got a long way to go before you really need to worry about too much. But obviously, the main thing right now, obviously, is your just general living costs and your expenses. If that is, for most people, most students, that's going to be the biggest concern. So it's all really about making sure that you don't build up more debt than you need to. Obviously, for most people, it's impossible not to rack up some debts as a student, and you will be paying that back over your much of your working career. If that's not a problem for you and you do have spare cash available, first thing obviously is to make sure you've got that savings, that emergency buffer that you're building up, and then thinking about things you're going to be potentially want to be buying after graduating. It depends what job you have. You might be in a position to buy a home before sooner or where you live in the country. It's probably unlikely the cost of houses, but you never know. So that would be something to prioritize. And then you also, when you start working, thinking about your pension, because there's so much time for when you're working before you retire for that pension to grow and grow and grow, and the any earnings you get on them to compound and grow as well. So yeah, making sure you're putting as much into your pension as you can when you start working to match those employer contributions as well is a good thing to do. But yeah, you've got plenty of time. So the more you learn about now is absolutely fantastic. But also, don't forget about now as well and the things you need at the moment. Let's check we've not missed anything here. Co-op Ed Up Coles. What's my favourite Christmas film? My favourite Christmas film is probably Home Alone 2, but I'm not sure if that's actually my favourite Christmas film or because it's my wife's favourite Christmas film and we watch it every year, sometimes twice, and we've been together for a long time now. So I don't know if it is my favourite Christmas film or it's just become my favourite Christmas film, but I do love Home Alone 2. So let's go with Home Alone 2. And for those of you who might have heard me say this already, Die Hard is not a Christmas film. I love Die Hard. I think it's an amazing film, but it's not a Christmas film. But that's a conversation for another time. Let's go back over here. So someone else said the volume is a bit funny for them as well. So apologies, guys. I'm not quite sure. The microphone's working. I've got it as the reading's coming through pretty decent. So hopefully it's not too bad for everyone. Stephen's asked about investing in gold. Again, sorry, Steve, I referred to that question earlier. I'm really sorry I can't answer you these questions about investing for you guys. Maybe look at, for investing stuff, people who I would probably trust on investing. Damien Talks Money, Peter Komalofe, Conversations of Money, Pete Matthew, although he won't be talking about a lot of those kind of things either because he's a financial advisor. Damien Fahey at Money to the Masses. They're good places for investing content, I would say. They might have information for you there. Andrew says, good evening, Andy. I have the Nationwide First Direct and Club Lloyd's Regular Savers. Do you think it's worth opening the 7% Gatehouse Regular Saver as well, as I had £300 a month to spare? So I did talk about drip feeding into regular savers last year, I think it was, maybe around the autumn of last year. And this was the idea, whereas if you already have money, savings built up, whether it was worth drip feeding that into a higher rate regular saver. Because obviously regular savers, they have higher rates, but smaller amounts, monthly deposit limits. And generally, if you had a set amount, there wasn't that much difference. Obviously, rates have changed a huge amount since then, so you probably want to revisit it and work this out. But it might just be if you've got money already, leave it in there to take away the hassle and the faff of doing it and transferring it over. At that time, that generally was probably slightly had the edge once you go past one or two regular savers, because you could potentially have like a dozen of them if you had that much money. filtering them into higher paying accounts, because there are a number. Actually, well, you know, could you get a dozen or so now which beats easy access? Probably not. There's probably only 7 or 8 which are above the top sort of, or significantly above the top easy access accounts right now. So that was one thing. But if you have new money coming in, new money that's coming in, and you can save it every single month, then I absolutely think the regular savers are well worth taking advantage of, because the amount of time that your money is in that account, it will be earning that more money than it would elsewhere. You just obviously think about access to this money. Not all regular savers allow you to access the cash throughout the year. In fact, most of them don't. And other kind of conditions, and sometimes they require you to have current account stuff. Now, this Gatehouse one that Andrew's talking about, you don't need to have any other accounts with Gatehouse, so you can just open it up. So from that point of view, it's a really, really good, easy option for people to go for. Jack says, I love the videos first stream. Well, welcome, Jack. Lovely to have you watching. Another Jack says, Amex Gold fee for a year is about to end. The best rewards card to move to? British Airways. Is the premium version worth it over the free version? Now, I did at the beginning talk a little bit about how I expect I anticipate better than expect there to be the British Airways American Express Premium Plus credit card boosted offer in the new year. When these come along for the last couple of years, they have been really, really, really good in terms of the number of points that you get. Now, in previous years, the £250 annual fee, you would have been able to get refunded pro rata. Those rules will be changing at some point in the spring, so it's very unlikely that you'll be able to trigger the bonus and get that refund. So you'll set that 250 quid locked in for the 12 months. And that obviously diminishes the value of those points per spend, because you're going to have to probably keep spending on that card. Now, from that point of view, if you are going to fly, if you are going to keep spending on it a year because you've got it, you'll earn 1.5 Avios points for every pound you spend. And that works out at about 1% cashback, doesn't it? Yeah, about 1% cashback. And also, you will get, if you spend 10 grand in the year, you'll get a companion voucher, which is basically a 2-for-1 voucher on BA flights. Now, there are lots of issues I have with those, and I've covered them at other times. But broadly speaking, if you can get a boosted offer and you can afford the 250 quid, and you're willing also, well, if you are going to fly and you get these boosted points, and that's quite good to get the companion voucher. If you're not going to fly anywhere, you want to convert them into Nectar points, you've got to be happy to use them in Sainsbury's and Argos and places like that in terms of getting the best actual value from them. Because actually that 1% cashback would be if it was a Nectar point. If you kept them as Avios points, it's far more complicated. But I absolutely would be looking towards that one in the new year if it comes along with the boosted offer. If there's not a boosted offer, I probably wouldn't be tempted by that one. But of course, because you've got the gold cards, you would be eligible for this British Airways welcome bonus. You would not be eligible for the platinum welcome bonus that's happening right now, because as detailed on the website and on YouTube in the past, there are some cards that restrict you from getting the bonus a second time with the platinum card. William says, if I use the LISA, a lifetime ISA, for a first house using the 25% government bonus, can I open a new one and get the government bonus for retirement also? I don't. That might depend on the providers, but yes, you would be able to, because you can open up a new lifetime ISA every year if you wanted to. You just can't pay into more than one of them in a year. And obviously, you can only use one for your home, so you wouldn't want to do that. But potentially, yeah, if you do that, and as long as you're under 40 years old, you should be able to open up an additional account and keep paying into that. However, what I would say is that the best thing to do? Is a lifetime ISA the best option for retirement? And in most cases, it isn't, because that 25% bonus effectively is the same as 20% tax relief on contributions to your workplace pension or to a self-invested personal pension. I know that sounds weird. How can 25% and 20% be the same? But they are. So here's an example. If you put in 80 quid into a lifetime ISA, 25% of that is 20 quid. So you add that up into total, it's 100 quid. So you put in 80 quid into the pension, but you're actually getting 100 quid. So look at tax relief, 20% tax relief. Well, let's say you put £100 is going into that pension, but you get 20% tax relief. That's £20 back. So exactly the same. You've put 80 quid into your pension, but actually there's 100 quid in there. In both examples, exactly the same. So really, there's not much difference. But and I have got an article going into more detail this on the website, and I think I covered it in the audio version of the podcast. That was before the podcast went on YouTube. So this would be around September time. I think it was one of the topics I spoke about. But you can find Cash Chats on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts. Look for one in early September around pensions. It details it there as well. But you also get things, if you pay into your workplace pension, you'll get employer contributions. So there might be some money there you're missing out on because you're not putting more money in there. And later on, if you become a higher rate taxpayer, you get 40% tax relief, which is even more money. So £100 in a pension will cost you 60 quid. And that's obviously better than the lifetime ISA. So weigh those things up. Broadly speaking, you're better off with a pension, but obviously slightly different if you're self-employed as well. That lifetime ISA could have some benefits there. Narcu says, can I book you for an appointment on savings? I'm afraid, I would love it if I was able to do that kind of thing, but my time just does not allow for that, I'm afraid. So really sorry about that. Okay, let's jump back. How long are we doing? We've got 5 minutes left. Wade says, does a bank switching bonus count towards your personal savings allowance? It does not. A bank switching bonus is a bonus. That is completely different. And in fact, often it's the case where your rewards that you get, they are like the Halifax rewards. If you get that £5 reward from spending £500 on your debit card, or you get cash back from Chase or things like that, they also count as rewards, not savings. However, interestingly, the Halifax reward one, I say interesting. I mean, you're watching this, so maybe it is interesting. Okay. There are two ways to get your Halifax rewards. The alternative way than spending £500 on your debit card every month is to put £5,000 in savings. Now, it's not a good idea because you only be getting equivalent of 1% back with £5 or something like that, rather than what you can get elsewhere. But that money does count as savings towards your personal savings allowance if you've got it from that method. So it's always worth checking those rewards, see what happens. But bank switching deals, absolutely not. AZ, am I American? AZ001 says, hi Andy, I'm looking to apply for my first credit card, but I'm unsure whether to go for a Capital One or Vanquish, which is better. So I did a video a couple of years ago, which is still absolutely bang on. So do watch that. It's about beginner credit cards. In fact, if you type into YouTube, first time credit cards, beginner credit cards, you should see my mug, my face appear with this video. The only thing that's different in there is some of the credit cards I talk about might not be relevant, but the general principles are all the same. And the headline before you watch that is, it doesn't really matter what credit card you're going to go for as your first credit card if your intention here is to pay off the balance completely every single month. And that is why often getting a first credit card is a good idea to help improve your credit score and your credit report. If you are looking though instead because you need to borrow because you haven't got any other options and there's no 0% overdrafts available, there's no cheaper loans or anything else available to get you through that essential spending, which presumably you might need a credit card for, then you want the lowest interest rate. Simple as that. Obviously, do as a detail in another video and article, my credit card rules. The number one rule there, well, not the number one rule, one of those rules is to do an eligibility search when you apply for a credit card. I generally do that on a comparison site, and you'll see a number of different options, and you'll see your chances of acceptance across a number of different options. So all things being equal, if one of them says 10 out of 10 and one of them says 1 out of 10, go for the 10 out of 10. Hope that helps, but do check out those other videos. They should hopefully guide you through that process. London Girl says, hi Andy, do I have to withdraw my LISA at 60 or can it sit to earn interest until I want it? You absolutely can keep it going. That's just the earliest you can access it. Obviously there are, if you have a cash lifetime ISA and you're thinking about that for retirement, then the interest rates you're going to be getting are not going to be amazing compared to what you might be able to get elsewhere. And particularly about the long time that you're talking about for a lifetime ISA for retirement, you're probably better off thinking about putting it into an in stocks and shares lifetime ISA. And again, I know I don't cover investing, but I'll give you the broad basics of it, because over that time, you would hope that investing will produce a much greater return than the rates you get in the cash lifetime ISAs. But nearer the time, then you might want to swap it into cash because you don't want that volatility when you might actually want to access it. A couple more. Kyle Alexander, hi Andy, what do you believe is the best way to purchase or finance a car? I need something reliable, but I hate pouring money into a diminishing asset. Yeah, cars are really tricky ones, aren't they? I mean, ideal world is if you can, you save up that money and you buy it with cash, so there's no debts at all. It's very difficult to get any kind of 0% finance on any kind of cars. Not impossible, but it's very difficult. I would certainly, obviously, if we had this experience, in the showrooms, they're often trying to tell you this, will tell you one thing, tell you another. Don't, trust them. They're trying to sell you a finance product as well as a car. So, use your judgment, do your research just to find out if what they're saying is correct. Can you get a cheaper loan elsewhere? Obviously, check how things like when you have to pay it off. Check things like if there's any penalties for doing it early. You might want to look at things like leasing as well, that kind of stuff. There are lots of pros and cons, not anything we've got time for now necessarily. How we do? Okay, we're out of time really. Let me try and do one more. Just a reminder, guys, the newsletter every single week on a Thursday, becleverwithyourcash.com/newsletter is how you can sign up. Hopefully, most of you already subscribed. If you're not, please do get that, because 7 a.m. on a Thursday, you will get the best of everything myself and the team have produced in the last 7 days. So on the website, on the YouTube channel, on the podcast, our deals of the week, all these different things. And that is the best way to keep on top of some of the things that come along. So a lot of the questions you guys ask, if you're reading that every single week, you're watching that content all the time, you're going to get this stuff by osmosis. You're going to pick it up as it comes along. And when it becomes relevant to you, hopefully remember. So that's a really, really important one to remember. Okay, let's see if there's a quick one that I can do for you guys. It's always, why do I always do this? Why do I always do one more question and I try and find one that's short? And always the really long ones and complicated ones. Here's one. Matt said, this is related to the tax on savings video and article that I did last weekend. Matt says, hi Andy, to work out if you get the £1,000 or £500 or £0 personal savings allowance, do you use your wages after or before tax to know which zone you fall into? This is before tax, before national insurance, how much you actually earn every single year. So if you earn £50,269 before any tax is deducted, you're still a basic rate taxpayer. If you earn £50,271, the threshold is 270, so £270, then you're a higher rate taxpayer. That's before tax. If you're not quite sure exactly what that is, it should be on your payslip. But the salary calculator website is a really good way of working things out. I'm not sure it does it in reverse, but certainly take a look at that if you want to work out what things are going to do. Guys, thank you so much. I say there's the last one before the end of the year. I'll be back with another one in the new year. Have a very, very lovely Christmas. I know it feels early to say that, doesn't it? But we're not. We're less than 2 weeks away. So have a lovely Christmas. Have a happy new year. And I'll see you in 2024. Don't worry, plenty of content coming out before that. Just won't be doing these lives. All right, guys. Cheers. Bye.